Hey guys, Diamond Standard here, back after a brief hiatus. Got married, had parents over for a couple weeks. Been caught up with all that stuff. Today I'm here to give you a little review, a little overview, and some insights into the wonderful world of Spyderco's H1 steel on two of their knives. I've owned two of these guys. He's been in the other video too. The first one I got of the H1 Dragonfly was of the serrated one. This is the plain edge, where I've added a little sharpening choil there too, just to fancy it up. I've also brushed the blade essentially, so there's not any markings. That's the first one I have to show. And this one I got in just recently is the H1 Spyderco Atlantic Salt. Now, the only thing different on this one is that this isn't serrated. This is the discontinued plain edge model. I like my plain edge knives in salt. I really like the serrated. It does its job, and it does its job well. They're both made really well. Nice strong backlocks to them again. The only difference, obviously, from these to the normal ones is that this is rust-proof steel. It's not rust-resistant. It's not, really not corrosive. It's rust-proof steel. Carbon's been replaced with nitrogen in them, so it makes for a softer steel, especially in the plain edge varieties. You'll lose your edge a lot quicker than you would on, say, the serrated. Here I've been digging around. I haven't cleaned my knives. But yeah, I suggest if you're going to venture in, grab a little serrated Dragonfly or something like that, just to try it out. It works great. I added a little anchor shackle on here, so I've made a lanyard as well with a bobber, so if I go out fishing, I can take this one with me, and there's not going to be any problem me losing it. This thing fits, really good in the hand. Like, it's a great feeling, even with my nut back there. Even choked up, really good. So I can only imagine with the serrated, it's going to be just as easy. I've done some of the things with the assist. That they had a kind of a give here for the assist for you to put the rope in between here, and so you could do it with your hands. I've done that with this. I've held the rope taut, the paracord, and I was able to snap the paracord, cut the paracord, or anything else with that, using it like the Spyderco assist. You could probably do that even easier with the serrated version of the Atlantic Salt. Again, I got the Atlantic Salt because I like sheepsfoot. I like sheepsfoot. I like Wharncliffe. I like that style of blade with the nice flat bottoms. If you want, say, a drop point, or essentially an Endura 4 in H1, you'd look at the Salt 1, or the Pacific Salt is another version. I don't know if the Pacific Salt's more like a Delica. I'm not too sure. I'm not up to date on those. But, that's the Atlantic. And then the Dragonfly, no different than the normal VG10 Dragonfly, which I had actually purchased as well when I did the scale swap. Because the Salt Dragonfly does not come in black FRN, which is kind of stupid considering all the other, most of the other iterations of these. They come in black. They come in black coated. For some reason, they left the Dragonfly out. I don't think the Ladybug does either, but that's besides the point. But this is the Salt H1 Dragonfly 2 with black FRN scales instead. So I assume that my hardware is a little less corrosion resistant since I left the VG10 versions on here. The normal versions, they have slightly coated stuff to help the hardware and other things be more corrosion resistant as well, to match up with their steel. I can compare the H1 steel to something, similar to like the 8CR 13 MOV stuff. It takes a razor's edge incredibly easily, like it's very soft, but then it loses it fairly quickly depending on what you're doing. Like, I've been using this one for a couple of days, and I mean, it's on and off here and there, and I didn't have a problem. But when I first took it out of the box and I cut a flap off of the cardboard, it instantly rippled a little bit, and I had a little spot where it wasn't so sharp. so I had to touch it up real quick. Do I recommend them? Of course I do. Spyderco stands behind their stuff. They make quality things. These are Japanese-made knives, Japanese steel, premium steel. It's a great steel. You know, being rust-proof if you're looking for something to throw in your pocket and forget it. Dive into these, right? No pun intended on that, because these are supposed to be dive knives, essentially. It's definitely worth it. It can withstand all the shit you can throw at it. You know, there's no point in watching a video where a guy puts salt in a little tub and puts these in there for a day. You know, do it yourself if you want. Take a whole whack of salt. I mean, just salt that water overly. You just leave it in there and it's good. You're good. You don't have to check on it in an hour. You don't have to check on it a day. Check it in a week. You won't have a spot of rust on this. Believe in me, guys, the H1 quickly becoming one of my favorite steels, like for the ease of care on it. I definitely carry it and another knife as well, usually like the Benchmade Mini Grip and CPM 20 CV, just to have a backup in case this thing's dull or, you know, this, that, or the other. But definitely worth having something like this in your pack. Throw it in your bag, throw it in your car. Good to have, guys. A safety knife, a rescue knife, anything you need it for. Get the serrated, get the plain. You're going to be happy with either one. Get that serrated, though, I think, for your first one if you haven't tried it, just for the sake of it really shows itself. And you know what? It's not that hard to sharpen the serrated knives on the Spyderco Sharp Maker. They have that triangle edge where you're just going to run the serrations over it slowly, and then you run it over the back edge of that triangle. It's so simple. You know, serrated knives get a bad name, and for a little backup, which you're never going to use, keep it sharp. I got a little bird rescue that's similar to this, except the serrated 8CR 13 MOV steel. I threw it in the car. It's just going to live there. I'm never going to have to touch it. It's just in case. You know, get one of these if it's just an in case knife. Thanks, guys.